Are you young with dreams of financial freedom? Get a job, enjoy your life, but save and invest your extra money. Buy a nice house, watch your investments grow while raising 2 kids and a dog. Retire when you're 60 and spend your golden years in the nice nest egg you've built. Sounds nice, but I have some bad news for most of you. You can probably guess by the title what that is. And in this video, I'll try to tell you what to do about it. Let's start from a place most younger people can relate to. If you're under 35, you were taught that in order to succeed, you should follow a certain path. Work hard in school, work for a stable company, manage your finances, invest in the stock market, and buy a house. After all, this tried and true method has worked for older millennials, Gen X, and especially boomers. Back in 1970, when the average house price was $17,000 and the median household income was $10,000. Compare that to today in 2024, where the average house price is $400,000 and the median household income is $70,000. Meaning, while house prices have multiplied by 24, wages have only multiplied by 7. And we'll get to why that change has occurred later in the video, but first we have to understand that capitalism, while responsible for many modern wonders of the world, is an inherently flawed system. And the flaw can be encapsulated in one word: exponential. If you took high school math, you know what that means. It's when something, spoiler alert, it's going to be money, grows at an increasingly rapid rate to the point of absurdity, meaning that our brains can't really grasp how fast it's growing. And I'll give you an example. If I asked you, would you take $1 million or would you take a penny, but that penny's value will double every day for the next 30 days, which one would you take? If you said $1 million, that is a terrible answer because a penny doubling every day for 30 days ends up becoming $5 million. This is completely non-intuitive, but the power of exponential growth is important to understand. Because if you listen to any traditional financial advice, it'll tell you something to the degree of invest a portion of your paycheck every month into an index fund. In the past 100 years, the US stock market has returned an average of 10% a year. And if something grows at 10% a year, that means math, it doubles about once every 7 years. So if you have your money in the US stock market, that money will double on average every 7 years. And you might be thinking, that's great. I would love my money to grow at an exponential rate. I better start investing right away. And then I'll become rich because my money will grow faster and faster and faster. But I think the people that give this financial advice always neglect to mention every investor's money grows at X% a year, whether that's you, the millionaire next door, or Jeff Bezos. And by far the most important factor in how much you'll end up with is how much you start with. As money grows exponentially, so does the gap between you and the people that start out with more money. Let's do a thought exercise. Say you and your buddy Jeff are 18 and you put your money in the US stock market. You have $10,000 and Jeff has $200,000 because of his inheritance. $190,000 is a meaningful difference, but frankly speaking, you guys are still in the same stratosphere. Neither of you are rich and you're both young and have plenty of time to grow your money. For simplicity's sake, let's say you and Jeff are pretty similar people. You both work the same job and are living paycheck to paycheck like 60% of Americans. So you can't really invest. After 7 years, you guys are both 25, both your money and Jeff's money doubles. Your modest $10,000 is now $20,000. However, Jeff's $200,000 is now $400,000. All of a sudden, a $190,000 gap has turned into a $380,000 gap. Both of your investments doubled, but so did the gap between you and Jeff. Now let's skip to the age of 40. Your money has doubled and doubled again, giving you $80,000. But so has Jeff's, who is now sitting on $1.6 million. So over the course of 18 to 40, working the exact same job, investing in the exact same things, a $190,000 difference has ballooned into a $1.5 million difference. This is a good demonstration of what we call the widening wealth gap. So you and Jeff, who started out relatively close, have been stratified into an upper class and a lower class. You might say, Tom, this isn't a fair example. I'll be working a job and I'll definitely have money to contribute towards investments over the course from 18 to 40. And while that's admittedly a fair point, the first thing I'd say to that is, again, most Americans, 60%, are living paycheck to paycheck. So the idea of you not being able to invest, or at least not being able to invest much in this hypothetical, isn't that far out. The second thing I'd say is while a normal 9-to-5 income might help control the difference between you and hypothetical Jeff, in the US we've been living in an exponential capitalistic society for quite a while already. Millionaires have already been made over and over again. In fact, almost 2% of households in the US have a net worth of $10 million. Throw the math out the window for a second. Do you really think your normal 9-to-5 income will help offset the difference of $10 million becoming $20 million, becoming 40 million, becoming 80 million over the course of a couple years? You don't really have to be good at math to know the answer is no. But what if the wealth gap widens? So what if there are more trillionaires, billionaires, and 100 millionaires? At least I'm on track to become a normal millionaire. I'm still on track to live a good life, right? Well, not as much as you'd like to think. With the exponential dollars being generated, unfortunately, the upper class takes away the lower class's American dream. Take real estate, for example. Before, in a time gone by, many middle-class families owned single-family homes. Some of the richer families had 2, 3, maybe even 4 homes. Today, and the trend into the future, is that these richer families will instead have 10, 20, 40, 100 homes afforded to them by the exponential difference in money that they have. I mean, why not buy them? They have more money than they know what to do with. You, with your measly $1 million, will not be able to outbid the upper class. You will be forced to rent instead. This answers the question as to why home value has increased so much. It's the upper class deploying their extra money and outbidding everybody else on these homes, thus driving prices up. What's more, in order to further maximize their wealth, the upper class will keep rents high. This will hinder the lower class from accumulating wealth. So what's the end game? Well, if it's not clear already, the middle class will entirely vanish. There will be the owners and the renters, the Uber riders and the Uber drivers, the whales and the little creatures that eat algae off the whales, the people that have more money than God and the people that are just getting by, the upper class and the lower class. And as more and more dollars flow into the upper class relative to the lower class, the economy will shift. There will be more goods and services dedicated to the upper class just because that's what's more profitable to produce. More private jet businesses, more luxury experiences. Services targeted towards the everyday person will suffer. If you're in that lower class, you'll see all your extra money go away to rising rents and prices. And what little money you can save and invest won't help you catch up to the upper class anyway. So unfortunately, you'll probably have to work until you're dead. Republican Nikki Haley said it best.
What's the right age there then, Ambassador?
Well, I think we have to do the numbers. We've got to figure out what it is. But what we do know is 65 is way too low, and we need to increase that.
Thanks, Nimrata. So what can you do about all this? If you're already rich, now is a good time to click away. Well, first, I want to note I've painted a pretty gloomy picture of the future, and I may be overly pessimistic. You could inherit your rich grandma's mansion she bought for $20,000 in 1960. There's a chance the government actually gets this whole universal basic income and wealth tax thing figured out. In the midst of a population decline, there's a chance the government actually figures out how to redistribute wealth in a fair way. But none of these are really in your control, and to be honest, people in the government are more likely to be in that upper class anyway, so why would they want to give away their own wealth? The second thing you can do is consider investing in more Hail Marys. There's a popular phrase that I dislike saying that the lottery is just a tax on the stupid. But are you really going to feel a couple of $2 lottery tickets while you're drowning in $30,000 of student loan debt? Is investing that $2 in the stock market instead really going to make a difference when a billionaire's billion is turning into $2 billion in 7 years? Before, if you took the standard path with normal, safe index investments, you were promised a middle-class life, single-family house, enough to retire in your 60s, and every dollar counts. Today, if you take that same standard path, you will still end up in the lower class and working until you're dead. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying play the lottery as often as possible. I still think you should have index investments. But if you invest $500 every month versus $300 every month, the future you will not feel the difference because you will still be in the lower class. Throw a couple hundred, maybe $1,000 at high-risk investments and have a shot at making life-changing money. Whether it's crypto, starting your business, whatever you think has the best chance at turning $1,000 into $1 million. If you lose the $1,000, you'll still be in the lower class, which you would have been in anyway if you invested into the stock market. But if it pays off, you might actually have a chance to join the upper class. And if you don't have any spare money to invest, like 60% of Americans, you're already feeling the effect of the upper class maximizing their wealth by raising prices of everything around you. In which case, for you, if you have no inheritance, the third thing I'd suggest is consider moving to a low cost of living area. Remember, in society, rich is only relative. If you are truly struggling, it sounds ridiculous, but especially with the trend of digital nomads, I would consider moving to lower cost areas in your country, like from New York to South Carolina, or even lower cost countries like Croatia and Thailand. I know the concept sucks, basically getting kicked out of your home because a bunch of rich people decided to buy up everything and raise prices. We see this pattern known as gentrification in pretty much every big US city. And at this point of making the video, I'm somewhat apologetic if I falsely promised you a magic solution with no downsides at the beginning of the video. I know these solutions aren't the best and sometimes reality just sucks, and preaching some magical solution would just feel disingenuous. On a more collective scale, hopefully we could use our voting power for politicians more in line with your everyday person, or we could all read some history on France.